Briefly on making college more affordable. I'm a sophomore in college. I was lucky enough that my parents, saved up money for me to go to school, but I still have, federal student loans where my interest rate is 7.9%, and banks can borrow money from the Fed with, less than 1% interest rate, I believe. If elected president, what would your dad do to make college education more affordable?
I think it's much bigger than that. I don't think there's one thing you can do to make it more affordable. I think you need to see a turnaround with the economy. I think there are a lot of things that need to take place for things to start.
The sole reason is, the number one thing is the economy right now, and I think it affects college, loans. I think it affects so many things.
A lot of people can't pay off their loans now because they can't get a job. And so they're sitting here years after they've graduated and they're saying, I still have this huge loan to pay off. So I think it all goes back to just getting the economy back on track. I think that's the best place to start. And then after that, you start looking at solutions and ways in which to make it a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Some Republicans have been slow to warm up to Mitt Romney because, of his faith. What would you say to those with the same criticism for your father?
I think it's a non-issue. I really do. I think that people need to look at who they are as a person and as a leader. I don't think that it affects anything. I really don't. So,
do you think that religion plays too much of a role in Republican politics?
Yeah, you can make it as big as an issue as you want it to. I know my dad, which is something like it's a very private issue for our family. We're not out there wearing it on our sleeve. We're here about politics. We're here about the issues. So I think you can play it up as much as you want, but
yeah, I think religion is something that you need to make private, and it shouldn't be part of politics.
Let's fast forward. It's November 5th, 2012. Tomorrow's election day. It's your dad versus President Obama. Why should the young people that turned out for Obama in '08 get out of bed and go to the polls, first of all, and why should they get out and go to the polls for your father?
I think, number one, you look at experience. I think you see how my dad can kind of transform. You look at what Obama's done in the last 4 years versus what my dad's done in the last 30 years. It's just, night and day, and I think people can actually have trust in him and know that he will be a good leader in whatever he does. So, and I think that when you, trust, I think, would be the biggest thing with my dad. I think people going to the voting polls will know, I actually think I can trust this guy.
Well, Obama went in with hope, and I think my dad will go in with some real solutions. It's great to get everyone riled up with hope, and I think you need that in any sort of campaign, but it's more than that. You actually have to, when you get into office, day one, start being a leader. Start putting things out there to make this country better, and I think that's exactly why our dad would be different. And so we hope that people will see the difference and be excited about it and tune in.
And I think it's about bringing people together, and that's what my dad does. That's what he did as governor of Utah, and he brought Republicans and Democrats and independents, and I think that that's so important. And what our country needs right now is bringing everybody together.
I know you need to go pick up your sister, so just the last couple questions real quick. Do you think that poll numbers play too much of a role in the primary season with, putting your dad at the end of the, debate stage and not giving him as much time and people saying, oh, well, he doesn't have a chance, he's polling very low. Do you think polls are too much?
Well, that's all they're focusing on right now. The only thing they look at is polls, and I think the picture is much bigger than that. So yeah, it is.
I think polls are a really big issue, especially in the primary phase. I think there's a new poll that's out every single day. Every day on the news I see 7 different polls, and it's like, why don't I do my own poll? It's like, you never know where the sources are coming from, and I think that they've kind of gotten a little ridiculous where they should look at people at the debates, what they're talking about, and the substance that they bring, instead of just polling. There's a front runner every week, and I think that just because of the polls, and I think it's a really bad way of judging who should be the front runner or who shouldn't be.
I don't think polls show how formidable a candidate is or not, and I think talking about debates, you shouldn't go off of who has the highest poll numbers versus who has the lowest, because I really don't think that polls, really mean that much.
All right, last question. We saw that, Herman Cain video spoof. Are you working on anything else? Anything
We'll
coming?
always have something up our sleeve, but we're just going to wait and see.
Anything? Surprise?
It's a surprise.
Leave us hanging. All right, Liddy, we're gonna see you on Saturday Night Live soon.
Maybe if you guys are if America's lucky.
If America's lucky, yeah. We saw your dad. Everyone loved that. It's always fun to see the candidates on SNL. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.